everybody. Zeus here with Sounds and Grounds, bringing you a special edition. We have my co-host over here, Mr. Jack Costo from Seven Spires, kicking it. And also we have Ty, aka Fang, from the legendary Lords of the Trident, the most metal band ever in existence, and also the purveyor for the Mad with Power Fest out of Madison, Wisconsin. So we got Ty over here. Fang, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I just got out of the shower. I'm feeling fresh. Feeling good.
The noon shower. The metal noon wake up shower time. That's right.
Oh, you know it. Wake up at the crack of noon, do 2 or 3 rock squats, take a shower.
That's right. Can we say
and then
cock
go back
push-ups?
to
bed? I don't know if we can say that. Is that trademark, cock push-ups?
It might be trademarked, yeah.
All right, I'll blurb that out. No worries. We have the technology. So real quick, I would just like to thank everyone for joining us and checking out. This will be, I believe, our 5th episode now. We're rocking and rolling, getting it done. We kind of are doing a little bit different format today. We wanted to really focus on Ty and the Mad with Power Fest coming up as like a promo and talk about all the super rad stuff that this guy has going on up there in Wisconsin. So I'll let you kind of take it away, Ty, and intro everything you want to say and this and that, and then we'll just rock and roll. We'll get it going.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Ty Christian. I am the singer for Lords of the Trident, as you said, and I also am the founder and general do everything person of Mad with Power Fest. Mad with Power Fest is a 2-day arcade, pinball, and heavy metal festival that we run here in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's been running since 2017. And we've grown it very slowly over the course of those years, to the point that now I can say actually today, as of an hour ago, I got the numbers in, and we have outsold Prague Power USA, which is the biggest power metal festival in the United States, as far as I'm aware.
Crazy.
Yeah,
fantastic.
So we've outsold them by 9 tickets so far. We still have a month to go. We could. I don't care how much we outsell them by. I'm just happy at this point. So, yeah, that was one of my soft goals for this year. But Mad with Power Fest is a really fun time. It is a festival that really aims to highlight a bunch of the up and coming trad, power and thrash, and kind of more let's say like melodic kind of heavy metal in the United States. I like many people listening and watching, and probably like many of you all, I've gone to a lot of metal festivals, and the one thing that I kind of observed over the course of maybe the first half of the 2000s is that a lot of the metal festivals were being headlined by like dudes that were in their like 60s and 70s, and as a person in a band, it was very, very difficult for me to kind of break into any of the festivals in our area, despite kind of slowly raising in popularity. And I saw a problem with that, where it's like, okay, if we keep doing this, if we keep letting dudes on oxygen and with walkers be the headliners for a festival, I mean, no shade thrown other than that strange shade that I just threw. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
No shade.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we keep doing that, and right. By we, I mean the festival promoters, right? If festival promoters keep doing that, then we're not going to be able to build up the next generation of metal in the United States. And so that was kind of my main goal of running the festival, was to be able to highlight kind of mid to mid high tier bands in this way to give them a boost, to allow them to play in front of a large and curated audience that they would enjoy playing in front of, and that would kind of bring their careers to the next level. So that's been the outlook of it. Additionally, Mad with Power Fest is like 100% focused on the fan experience first. Just like I've said, we've all been to metal festivals, and there's been things that we all just hate about metal festivals that just suck. You know, I mean, the metal festivals are fun, but there's there's pain points that could be easily fixed. You know, if we kind of thought about it ahead of time. And so Maddest Power, from day one, we built our own ticketing system so that people don't have to pay ticket fees. Basically, what you see on the website is what you pay. There's no extra service fees. There's no convenience fees. No, nothing. Now, this year, we moved into a much bigger venue. We moved into a 2,500 capacity venue. And because of the move and because of the, you know, contracts and all that sort of stuff, we had to go with Ticketmaster, and everybody went boo, boo,
Yeah.
Ticketmaster, everybody boo. But we were the first festival in the entire nation to say to Ticketmaster, we will only use you if we are allowed to put the final price on the website. That includes the ticket fees, that includes all the convenience fees, that includes everything. We were the first, and as far as I'm concerned, only festival to do that. So that when you see the price of the ticket, that's what you're paying. You're not paying an extra $25 in, like, you know, fees or whatever at the end of the night. And then interestingly, like 6 months later, the United States government put in a bill to be like, all right, Ticketmaster, you're gonna have to like show the final price on the, and I'm like, I wonder where they got that. Old Joe Biden probably looked at
Right.
Maddest Power Fest, and he was like,
he's paying attention, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
He sniffed you out and was like, oh, okay, right on.
So we've got that. We've baked in an hour for socializing and dinner, because, you know, we go to these festivals and you always have to miss a band because you have to eat at some point. So we've baked that in. And essentially we've just tried to make all of the processes and all of the communication, entry, exit, all that sort of stuff as fan friendly as humanly possible. On top of that, you know, we are the only festival in town that has just a crap ton of free play arcade and pinball games, because, you know, you need something to do while the bands are switching out, and you know, and maybe sometimes you're at a festival and there's like, you know, 700 bands and one of them is like, not quite your jam. You know, just go play some pinball until the next band comes on or whatever. And you know, it's been very fun, very great, and we've been building it. It's been building very steadily, and yeah, now I can, I'm happy to say that we are the biggest power metal festival in the U.S.
Wow, huge congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
crazy to like hear as a statement in any capacity, you know.
It's crazy for me to say as a statement. Like, I'm like, yeah, you know?
And that's like after this is the 6th festival, right? 6th one.
Yep,
Yeah.
this will be number 6. I mean, if you don't count COVID, we had one year where we didn't do it. We did like a virtual festival, so six year in person. Yep.
Now, were the games always a part of it, the pinball games and stuff?
Yeah, because, you know, the way that I was approaching it is, you know, there's a million festivals out there, and there's a million metal festivals out there, and when it all boils down to it, essentially what they are is like, you know, 12 bands in a room. And like, that's cool, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but my thought process is, okay, how are we going to differentiate ourselves from, you know, this fest, that fest, from Prog Power, from, you know, RPM, from whatever you got in there. You know, how are we going to capture the essence of power metal nerdery, you know, alongside of just being a metal festival? And I'm like, well, you know, one of the things, I mean, clearly from my background, one of the things you can see that I very much love
Right.
is arcade and pinball.
Sure.
And so I have a lot of friends who run arcades. I've got a lot of like contacts in that world, and a lot of them are, you know, power metal fans, like, or just metal fans in general. And so when I said like, yo, I'm putting together an arcade pinball and metal festival, everybody's like, oh my god, you know, like, I'm there, I'm there.
Never have I known I needed something so badly without ever hearing it before.
Yep. Yeah, and it's been a great hit. It's actually been a wonderful way for, we've alongside of like, the whole ethos of bringing up mid-tier bands in the scene. It's also been a great opportunity for independent arcade and pinball cabinet makers to showcase a lot of their products. You know, we've got a person that comes every year, Tony, who creates independent, you know, arcade games. He's made the game Death Ball. He's working on another game that have been, you know, so far hits in many different markets, arcade markets around the United States. And we're trying to like encourage more indie cabinet makers to come in and kind of show things off as part of the festival, because I just think that's neat too. You know, it doesn't
Wow.
have to be all classic arcade. It can be something new.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
kind of the
that's
same.
like the game side of it. You know, the same thing with what you try to do with the actual bands you bring on. You're doing the same thing for the arcade developers, and I
Yep.
think that's super cool.
Yeah.
I guess on that note, my first big question of the day, as a musician who tries to know as little as possible about like things that I don't need to know, as someone booking a festival like this and clearly very in the know, what do you think keeps most festivals coming back to these like legacy bands that have decades of, you know, experience headlining these kind of festivals on this level? What do you think makes it attractive or easy for other festivals to do that? And then part B, what puts you in a unique position running Mad with Power, to do things differently and also be very successful, clearly?
Yeah. Number one, the answer for that is ticket sales. You know, at the end of the day, people who run festivals are essentially running a business, and they're running an event. And the event can be very, 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 very expensive. And that event is essentially on that person or that group of people to finance. When we started looking at the books this year for Mad with Power, um, since we're moving up into a bigger venue this year, the back of the napkin kind of total cost that I was looking at was $75,000. And that is on me. That is not on any company. That is not on the band. That is on me. Like if Mad with Power does not work, I have to sell my house, you know? And that kind of very emotional and mental, you know, stress of, oh my God, please, 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 everyone buy tickets, is what I think what leads people to go for, you know, what they would assume to be surefire acts, and I also think that just in general, most of the promoters that I've met who are running these festivals maybe skew a little older, and so when they think of bands, they're kind of thinking of, oh, this band from when I was 18 or whatever. Now I can't say that is the case for all festivals, but I think the majority of it is like pick a name that people know, and and there will be ticket sales is kind of the general thought process of it. The an up and coming band is a little bit more of a gamble. Are they going to sell 20 tickets, or are they going to sell 200 tickets? Unless they've been headlining Wacken for 2-3 years in a row, it's kind of hard to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I think the thing that separates Mad with Power from that mindset is that when I went to, and Jack, I'm not sure if you experience the same thing, but when I go to shows and festivals and stuff like that, I like listening to live music. The music is great. I tend to go into like hyper focus, like, oh, I wonder what they're doing in the background and what kind of board they're using, and oh, what the so I tend to have less of like I don't know, emotional experience with the music, unless it's a band that I'm like super duper a billion% into. The reason that I go to most metal festivals, the reason I go to most shows, is more of like a family reunion mentality, right? I go to Prague Power every year, not because I care about the bands. I mean, some of them I do, but I don't really, like I could be happy seeing 4 or 5 songs from each band, and I'd be like, that was great. That was a wonderful experience. I go because I want to see the people in my life who I am close to on the internet, but I get to see like maybe once a year, because they're all in far-flung reaches all across the United States. So the general idea for me with the festival, with Mad with Power Fest, is, and also the fact that we're kind of doing that whole fan focus, no bullshit, kind of reduce the pain points thing, is because my primary focus of Mad with Power Fest is thinking of it as like a big family reunion. I've seen people who go to Prague Power and other festivals like it every single year. They buy a ticket every single year. They buy their plane ticket every single year. Doesn't matter who's playing. They've been going for 20 years, and they could care less about who's playing or what year or whatever. They go to hang out with their friends. They go to have a weekend where they're hanging out with their buddies and drinking and have a good time and listening to music, and so I wanted to try to cultivate that mentality in Mad with Powerfest, that like, yeah, you're going to see some great bands. You're going to see a lot of bands that maybe you're not super familiar with, some bands that are up and coming. But the main focus of it is like, you're going to go see your friends. You're going to go see your friends. You're going to have a good time. There's activities planned outside of the festival, in between the festival, so that when you're, hanging with your friends, you have planned things to do, and you have opportunities to, make new friends and do all sorts of stuff. And our cat has joined the chat.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I saw you had cats on your Facebook. I was like, awesome. This is gonna be a great interview.
So I've trained her to, whenever I'm streaming on Twitch, there's a button to like give her a treat. So whenever I'm like talking at the computer, she thinks I'm streaming.
Right.
And I've trained her to boop my nose. Yeah, I saw your cat too. I've trained her to boop my nose for a treat. So there you may see like a cat paw like enter into the so yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, that's the whole mentality of it is like I want to cultivate a festival that people will go to every single year, no matter who's playing, just for the vibe, and just because they know that all their friends are going to be there and they can have a safe, fun, good time with other activities outside of just listening to music. The arcade, the pinball. We have a in between the days of the festival, we have a heavy metal cheese curd flash mob, where we all head up to the local farmers market, which is about a mile away from the venue, and we all show up in our battle vests and like boom boxes blasting Blind Guardian and whatever, and the main goal is just to go around the entire farmers market, which is huge, second biggest farmers market in America, and buy out all the cheese curds. So we go stand to stand, and we're just like, give them all of them. Just give us our, money. It's awesome. It's really
Yes,
fun.
we'll take them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's your 75 grand budget right there. Is like 50% cheese curds.
50% cheese curds. Yeah, exactly.
For the next years, you'll have to like have cheese curd vendors
Oh my
from
God.
the farmers market.
That's a great idea. We were just playing a show, side tangent, cheese curd tangent. We were just playing a show with we were on a couple of the tour dates with Windrose and Rhapsody and Seven Kingdoms, and I brought Rhapsody a bunch of cheese curds. Well, I bought all the bands a bunch of cheese curds. Rhapsody was not, they weren't touching them. They were kind of like poking at the bags. They're like, "This is a food." I was like, "Yeah, it's cheese curds." It's a cheese. It's not. It's like, it was just made today. Oh, it's a new cheese. Like, yeah. You want some? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe I try later. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. And then like end of the night, I go into the green room. I said, like, look, dummy check, making sure I didn't forget everything. Open up the door, and all the members just have their hands in a bag. And Robbie, the guitarist, looks at me and goes, "These are like drugs."
Like, not yes, like drugs. Awesome. It is drugs. Cheese is a drug.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's really cool.
New cheese.
It's a new cheese.
Semi-new. It's kind of newish. It goes with,
I guess it's probably experience that tells them not to try anything that they haven't had before the show.
Yeah.
Wise decision.
Wise decision. Yep, absolutely.
That's very cool. It reminds me a lot what you're doing with the defunct Milwaukee Metal Fest from back in the day. Like it seems like Wisconsin in the States kind of lends itself more to supporting festivals. Did you ever do anything with that fest? Were you ever involved in that? We had played it a few times. Kind of towards the end, it sort of changed hands and ownership a couple times. But it seems like that area, I'm not sure how far Madison is from Milwaukee. I'm sure it's
not too far. It's like about an hour and a half.
Yeah. But like that was like one of the only fests that people had that same mentality. And I know it's probably been at least 10 years since it existed. And now they've brought it back this past year. The guy from Hatebreed brought it back. I know it's a little different now, but it seemed back in the day like people would go to it. It didn't matter what was happening. They had lots of vendors. It was spread out the last time we had gone, it was like on a farm, and so there was like stages, like 3 or 4 stages, and it's like these things have been going on in Europe for like decades, and people here in the States, like we had talked about this before, like they're just now getting into this fest mentality. But it seems really like what you're doing is making the right moves. Like you're not getting too big too fast, and you're incorporating other things. Like I'd love to see a Comic-Con metal fest that had comic books and actors and, you know, voiceover people, video games, metal, like something on that side. And you're sort of, I think, inching towards that with what you're doing. But it's very cool. Like I didn't know about your fest until I really started following Jack's, you know, Spires and things like that, and then seeing what's coming up. And then I kept in the and Discord, like in the server, people were talking about this festival that's coming up and how great it was before. And I'm like, how do I not know about a video game metal fest? I kind of was like, am I just too old? Am I too young? Like what's the disconnect there? But I just was gonna say, like with financing and fest and growth, you know, I have this poster here from Housecore Horror Fest that Phil Anselmo did about a little less than 10 years ago. It was horror movies all weekend, independent filmmakers, as well as like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like they had the first reunion from the original cast and crew. Every big metal band from like Danzig did a couple 2 days of Samhain, Sanguine. You know, Voivod got back together to play a show. Like all these huge bands, but you know, at the end of the day, behind the scenes, the promoter that had organized and financed everything, it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. The guy actually ended up passing away. He had a heart attack on the last day of the festival. Like everything was done, everyone was packing out. He had a heart attack and died. And it was the stress. Like I know that sounds like the fucking most brutal metal thing ever, but it's like they've tried this huge festival and had so many bands, and it was so new, and it was in Austin, which is a very expensive place, and there was like 2 venues on either side of like a huge like a shopping center.
Yeah.
It was great for fans and the concept, but yeah, doing something that big, you know, I can't stress how important it is that what you're doing is smart, and like taking it in stages, and like, you know, I can afford this much to make this happen this year, but having a forecast is very smart. And, you know, I applaud and respect what you got going on, man. It's super cool, and you're doing all the right things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I you know, anybody who knows me knows that I love spreadsheets and Japanese toilets. And you know,
right.
the spreadsheets are definitely key. And you're right. I've seen, you know, when we started up this festival, I saw a lot of friends and acquaintances who had also started festivals that were, you know, very much in the red and having a tough time attracting people. And they, you know, they were the fest that started with 3 days, you know, and like 500 bands. And it's like, you know, no, we're gonna the first 2 years of the festival, first 3 years of the festival, actually, we just did 1 day, and you know, we did 6-7 bands, and the whole idea was to just grow it nice and slow, you know, so that we would get those people who would say, okay, this rules, I'm coming back every year, and grow that number to the point where now, you know, now comfortably, yeah, we can move from a 500 cap venue into a 2,500 cap venue, and make it work financially. And that it's a difficult balancing process, and it's tough to do, but yeah, I think the real smart, slow growth is something that's very important for a lot of these festivals.
Right on. Now, how do we combine the spreadsheets and the Japanese toilets? I know you're big on the toilets. You mentioned it in the email, like we got to talk about this in the video.
Oh, dude, I could spend this entire podcast talking about Japanese toilets, and I'll tell you exactly how we combine the spreadsheets and the Japanese toilets. Okay, one of my goals, like this is a soft goal, right? You know, this is like, oh, if I made like stupid YouTube money all of a sudden, if something blew up and then all of a sudden I've got like 3 million subscribers and I'm making, thousands of dollars a month, but also still at my day job for some strange reason, I would buy the top of the line Japanese toilet from Toto. This thing is like, it's tankless. It looks like a little river stone. You walk into the bathroom and it automatically opens the lid. LED lights turn on inside. You sit down and it weighs you. It plays an MP3 of your choice. It like turns on the deodorizer. And here's where the spreadsheets come in. It actually keeps track of like how much you deposit and when.
Oh,
and
BMs.
Yeah, and you can pull it up on your phone and see the spreadsheet over the like. That's the dream. That's the Lamborghini of Japanese toilets. That's the dream. Right now I've got like a Mazda Miata of Japanese toilets. I got like a mid small model. But I still love it. I still love that my Japanese toilets. That was the first thing I bought when I bought this house like 11 years ago. I'm like, okay, all right. No, we'll get the locks figured out later. Japanese toilets right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So were you on tour that saw these toilets? Like, what was your introduction? Or was it that 3 a.m. doom scrolling and it's like, wait, this toilet talks to you? Like, that sounds made up. Like, I don't think that would fly here. And then, I thought it was bad because some of the toilets like have a phone holder, but that's like,
Yeah.
that's Fred Flintstone tech.
Yeah, when I was 15, I went over to Japan for the first time on an exchange program. That the city I was growing up in, they started up a sister city program, and I went over there, and it just absolutely had the time of my life. Completely, without hyperbole, like completely changed the course of my life and how I look at just humanity in general. Going abroad for the first time when I was young, and one of the amazing things that I fell in love with was their toilet technology was like so much more advanced than ours was, both in the ecological standpoint but also in like the hygienic standpoint. And it was one of those like situations where I was like, this is what we could, why don't we have this, we could have this, everyone could have this, it's so nice. And I think now slowly, in 2023, I think more and more people are getting behind the whole like integrated bidet movement in their toilets, which I mean honestly is 100% a game changer and it is worth every single penny. I love it. But yeah, that's kind of where I fell in love with it. And then just over the years, I was the guy who was proselytizing for the Japanese toilets at every social gathering. We'd be sitting around, hey, did you see the game last night? I'm like, let me tell you about Toto's current product line. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
So, like, I think another one of the soft goals just for the band in general is to get sponsored by Toto. Like I'd love a toilet company to sponsor Lords of the Trident. I think that'd be great.
You have to do like covers of Toto the band in Japanese, but change all the lyrics to be toilet related.
Right.
Good Lord. Why haven't I thought about this? Jack, you're a genius.
Jack says everything now right when I'm thinking it, so I don't even have to talk anymore. I'm just like,
yeah, we're doing too many of these. I'm starting to think like you.
Right. Yeah, because you bless the rain, you bless the rains down in Toto Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
you could do so much with Hold the Line too, like
right.
There's a lot of things that are not always on time.
Right. So is this something that could be on a tour bus? Are you rallying for tour bus Japanese tech, or? I
mean, the rule
you still won't go on the bus.
Yeah, you can't poop on the bus. So like, I think that would probably be wasted on a bus, but But we actually did just tour Japan in December 2022, and had that was the best tour we've ever done, easily, hands down. And yeah, and every night, every single, the weird thing about Japan, right, is like we experience this like toilet tech is like futuristic and high tech and like, ooh, very special. But like you can go to a mountain pass where they have like a campsite, and their outhouse will have one of these things where it's like, so like, let me tell you, I was clean as a whistle the entire Japanese tour. It was amazing. It's fantastic.
I'm sure everybody is thankful for this when you're on a tour. Like it's
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Hmm.
It's
Yep.
just like thinking about that reminds me of it's I mean completely different, but like going to Germany for the first time and seeing how like widespread and reliable their train system is, in like you can get anywhere from anywhere and it's like on time generally speaking, and like
Yeah.
it seeing technology or just ideas or systems in place other places that we could so easily have, but it seems there we go.
Sorry, she went for it. I couldn't.
Yeah, but it
Where's my stuff?
yeah, seeing that kind of stuff, that it seems like such a no-brainer when you see it for the first time, and it's like, why don't we have it? And then it sounds like some kind of, insane idea when you explain it to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah. The best, and I promise this is the last toilet thing I'll talk about, but
Oh,
the
I'm
best
fine.
the best toilet piece of technology that I found in Japan was not the actual like toilet seat mechanics itself. It was something so simple that I think everybody in every aspect of the world could do right now. And that's the top of the toilet tank, right? Instead of the lid being concave, it was convex. And there was a spout that came up the back of the toilet. So you flush the toilet and then water started filling the tank, but there was literally a sink right in front of you. So you like wash your hands in the gray water that's just sitting in that sink, and then you use that to flush the next time. And it's like that doesn't need to be clean water. We're just flushing down crap. Like that can be like, that can have soap in it. It's fine. So yeah, like
It's
that
probably better if it does.
yeah, that alone just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, we've been wasting so much. Like I'm dual tasking here. There's a sink and a toilet. Let's put them together. So yeah.
Genius.
Is this new toilet? New toilet?
This is a new toilet. This is like a drugs.
Oh,
The
fantastic.
brain. That's so amazing. I think it comes down to here, profitability. Our toilet technology probably hasn't changed in over 100 years.
Yeah.
And all these companies here would have to, one, explain all this to people. I think the mass male majority is afraid of a bidet washing their hind end. I think that really has a lot to do with it. Like, I'm not having water spraying, and then they're grabbing the gravel toilet paper from the dollar store and working
Yeah.
it. But I mean, even if you look at, I take everything back to movies. You look at Demolition Man, and in the future, like the big thing is this toilet thing, and he just doesn't understand, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
ongoing joke of like three seashells. What's up with that? And then it's just
Right.
like, I'm not going to learn technology. I'm going to figure out a way to get my gravel, garbage paper to clean myself with. But yeah, I have a friend that actually one of my friends from high school. He ended up moving to Japan. He's like a writer and does like freelance work out there. And whenever something happens in Japan, I like message him on Facebook, like, what's up with Fukushima? Like I was blowing up his inbox when stuff was happening out there. But I'm now gonna have a new topic to talk to him about. Like, man, why didn't you tell me about the toilets, dude? Like I kind of feel like an outsider now. You didn't share the toilet tech with me,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Right on. Man, that's just really good stuff. You're sort of carrying the show for us, so I appreciate that.
No worries, no worries.
I know we did want to talk a little bit about your band. I know you got an EP coming up, and you did some tours, and maybe have some other tours lined up. So
Yeah, maybe we
feel
do.
free.
looking knowingly at people in the room. Anyway, so yeah, we're actually working on our 11th release right now, which is crazy to say out loud. But we got an EP in the works. We about a year and some change, we released our last record, The Offering, which did really well. It was a concept record, and a lot of people really liked it. And
Me included.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. We did a lot of music videos around it. I think we did like 9 music videos or something like that. And it was like
Wow.
13 song album, so it was, stupid. But it, it was a lot of fun. And so we did that. We had a little bit of leftover material, and then a few like new songs we were working on after we finished that. And we are currently turning that into an EP. We hope to finish up recording that by probably November, early December, something like that. So I would assume that would probably be out very early 2024. We're of course working on the next record. We just did, like I said, we went to Japan in December. We just did a Southwest Coast tour in April, and we're doing a little mini tour up to Montreal for a festival called Nerdstock, which I'm very excited about. And then yeah, we've got some things in the works for next year. I don't know if I can announce anything, so I'm not going to.
It's always the
um,
battle.
yeah, but
Big things coming soon.
Yeah. Hashtag big things coming soon. But
I always think of Jeffrey Dahmer when I see that, like, big things going on in the background I can't really talk about, but
yeah. I will say though, kind of the intersection between Mad with Power and Lords of the Trident. One of the other reasons that we, the secret evil reason, that we started up this festival is because, there's a big difference between like meeting another band or being a fan of a band online and like meeting them in person. And another thing that I thought could really help and strengthen the scene is if we get a bunch of these mid-tier bands in the same room, they can all like meet each other, chat, kind of get each other's like vibes and make friends, and then when, this band goes on tour and they're looking for an opener, who are they going to think of? Oh, I had fun with Seven Kingdoms at Mad with Power Fest. Maybe I'll talk to them, and so I think there's a real power of kind of bringing these bands together with the overarching, kind of decree of, friendship, like, now kiss, that like, that's the general idea of Mad with Power Fest is like, bring these bands together. You're going to be friends. You're going to be best friends. You're going to have an arm wrestling competition. You're going to get drunk. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. We're going to sing and tell stories. It's going to be a good time. So, I think a lot of that has happened with us over the years, and I know it's happened with a bunch of other bands that have been at Mad with Power Fest, where they've sort of coordinated tours together because they met and had such a fun time. So that is another one of the goals of Mad with Power Fest is to get all these bands in the same room, make them friends, and then have them all go on tour together, or think about X, Y, or Z band when they're going on tour. And it certainly happened with us too, so it's been a really great boon for everybody involved. So yeah, other than the super secret thing that I can't maybe talk about, that's going on next year, we don't have any super big tours in the works right now. We're literally just trying to finish up the CP and just continue to write. We're doing a bunch of live stream concerts, because those are fun and easy, and we have all the setup left over from the pandemic, and we're just like, why not? So we're doing that. We're doing a bunch of little mini tour kind of things here and there, but no giant tours until the secret thing in 2024. So yeah.
Any plans for East Coast stuff? I'm in Virginia, so I'm always begging people, it's like, please come to Virginia and play a show. Have you done anything out this far? Because I looked through some of my band history of like tours, and I didn't see you guys in Virginia, but I only looked back a few years.
We typically like in the pre-pandemic world, we would typically come out to like North Carolina once a year or once every other year. I haven't done anything like full, East Coast, kind of Florida to Boston or whatever, to Maine or whatever, but it's something that I definitely want to do. I think the issue for a lot of us is just time, and like balancing day jobs and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
We were actually, the plan originally was to do an East Coast tour with Seven Kingdoms as part of the whole Rhapsody Windrose thing, and that actually just kind of fell apart as it was getting closer. So we pivoted to a West Coast. but yeah, I very much, you know, I feel like I like fly out to the East Coast and like hang out there a lot, and I'd love to actually play more on the East Coast for sure.
Yeah. I was surprised to see a Sound of Thunder on the list of bands to play. I know Nina, my band, played with them several times back in the day, and that's really cool. I sort of hadn't seen them play a lot recently. I know maybe 2 years back, like she was in a pretty bad car accident.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I saw they were playing. I was like, man, that's like awesome. Like I love those guys. They were doing, you know, the power metal, you know, crossover heavier stuff years ago. Like they were out in this part of the country, Maryland, Virginia area. Like they were doing this type of stuff, you know, 10, I dare say 15 years ago. So that was really cool to see them on there. I'm glad you added them, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna be great to play with them again. We've done a couple of mini tours with them, and they actually played
Right
Mad with Power 2 in the past. So we're getting them back for Mad with Power 6.
on.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I mean, obviously, you know, the pandemic has kind of skewed our sense of time and space, but yeah, it's definitely been a hot minute since I've hung out with Nina and Josh and Chris and all those, you know, and just everybody, Jesse. Yeah,
Right
it's
on.
gonna be really fun. That is one of the things that I very much looking for. You know, I've been going to the gym like every other day and just going to the pec fly machine, you know, like this one, because I'm just getting ready for the hugs. I'm like, I'm gonna be the best hugger. Let me tell you.
That's awesome. Oh,
Oh my goodness, dying. All right. Well, I'm going to ask a question now. The obvious question I want to know more about is the collab, the cover of Succumb. What's like? How did that come about? I know Jack mixed or engineered that. I thought that was really cool. I mean, to be honest, that's like the first Lords of the Trident song I kind of saw a video for, was for Aspire song. You know, you're Googling or YouTube or whatever. It's like, oh wow, there's covers of their songs. I'd like to check that out. So anything you want to say, like what's the history of that and how did that come about?
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, I'm a person that has big shocker. I'm a person that has a lot of trouble staying still. I have to like be doing a couple of things all at the same time all the time. Otherwise, I just kind of get into this like weird, you know, ennui of like, my life, you know. So when the pandemic hit and everybody was home and we couldn't even practice, and you know, the very early moments of the pandemic, I was just sitting down here in the basement, like staring at a wall, and my mind kind of was like, I got to do something. I got to do something. And one of the things that I had thought kind of speaks directly to what you just said. I was like, you know, there's a lot of these bands that I'm friends with via Mad with Power or via just the power metal scene in general. And there's a lot of these songs of theirs that I just really love. Like, I just think they're extremely great songs, earworms, super catchy. Like, you know, I listen to them constantly. And I was like, you know, I wonder if I could start up like a series where I do like vocal covers of these songs. Because I'd seen a lot of singers do, you know, you see singers do vocal covers of like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest all the time, and there's like 5 billion of them on YouTube. And so my mind went to like, okay, how am I going to make something that kind of cuts through the noise and also strengthens the scene at the same time? And I was like, okay, if I do covers of bands that like have like that are my close friends that have like 1 or 2 music videos, then, you know, not only does that sort of link us and them, but it, you know, people in the scene who are fans of us suddenly become fans of them and vice versa. You know, so I started up this series called Power Converter, where I do these, and it started with a Paladin song, Shoot for the Sun, and then it slowly got more and more ridiculous as the pandemic went on. Because the first one, I mean, if you watch the first one, it's like me singing into a microphone, and there's a little bit of movement, there's a little bit of me like playing around with a Guitar Hero controller, and it's fun, you know. But it's more about like the singing than anything. And then the next one I did, I'm like, well, I already did like a singing to the microphone thing. So So I inserted myself into the Primal Rage arcade game, and made a cover of Helion Prime's Earth. And then it just got more and more ridiculous as the time went on.
Right.
And Succumb was always on my list of, songs to cover. And I felt like I had to work up to it, because that song's really freaking hard to sing. It was not designed for a male singer. Let's just, let's just say
it's
that.
barely designed for Adrian. Like it gives me
Yeah.
trouble too.
Yeah. So I think it was very much after we played their CD release party in Boston in 2021
Right.
that the idea really kind of cemented into my brain of like, okay, this is on the list, we're gonna do it. And thankfully Jack had a instrumental, a non-vocal version of it that I got to sing over. And then graciously offered to mix it, which I was like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't even have an instrumental. I just had the multi-track that we had sent to Sasha. So I would have had to make one anyway. So I thought, like, why not do it?
Yeah. And that was one of the roadblocks that I ran into in doing this series, is there's so many bands that don't think about, like, once they do the mix down of their album, like, oh, let's also make instrumental versions. And not to say that like everyone should, but yeah, it was such a great thing that you had that, and then that you mixed it. It was like, it came together perfectly. And then of course I was like, Brian, you want to do it? And he's like, yeah. So Brian jumps in and throws in this just incredible, amazing, fabulous solo over the top. Because Brian, I don't think he would mind me saying this, is a big fan of Jack, and
I'm a big fan of him too.
Oh, yeah, loves his playing, and that kind of thing. So I think there's equal love between the between the two bands. And then I watched the original music video like over and over and over again. And the original music video is sort of set in like on a beach, and seemingly during, warmer weather. And it was winter at the time. And I'm like, I know where there's a beach and it's got icebergs and ice crags all over it. And that would be a good, like, juxtaposition. Like theirs was in the summer, ours was in the winter. Like, woo, So we brought Brian out to a frozen lake, and we had one of our friends with a drone do the drone shots. And then I traveled about 6 hours north from here to the shores of Lake Superior, where I performed my parts of it. The funniest part of that whole thing was where I grew up in Superior, Wisconsin, which is where we shot it, and up across the border in Duluth, Minnesota. There's like a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers free museum that shows all sorts of things about, like, the ore shipping industry and the big tankers, and you can just walk in and check it out. It's an amazing museum. It's super free. And they just so happen to have an old ship's like wheel, and this is in the middle of this museum. And so of course I am all like dressed up in the pirate, get up and the eye makeup and everything like that. And my mom is behind the camera. and I'm like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to run in here real quick. And we're just like, we'll see if the coast is clear of the Coast Army Coast Guard, it would see if the coast is clear, we'll and then I'll wait until there's nobody around. We'll jump into that wheel, and then we'll like just hit record, and we'll get as much as we get before they kick us out, because they're gonna kick us out, but we'll get as much as we get before they kick us out.
Right.
And so we did that. We just ran in there, put the camera down. My mom was like holding the camera rig, and I had it on my phone. I just hit play, and I was like, like just miming and like throwing the wheel around. Sometimes you can see in some moments like a few people like walking in the background. They're like, oh, they're doing something. And then yeah, right at the very, very last note of the song, the receptionist is like calling somebody. He's like, yeah, there's somebody, blah blah blah, and like we stopped the recording, and I go, cheese it, it's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we all run out.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
Bridge around us, cheese it, run.
Cheese curd it, get out of here. See, now I want the video. Like, I wish I had it queued up. We could like watch it and like talk through it. That'll be our next technology. But as soon as this interview is done, I'm going to watch the video, and it'll have so much more meaning now. Oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah, watch the background of the wheel shots. You'll see just a few people that are like,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like that adds so much to the video itself, just to see people like, oh shit.
yep, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the rest of it was just something that was just really fun to sing, and it was really challenging, and it took me like a good solid like 4 or 5 hours of like hardcore vocal, like, let's try this. But yeah, that's just one of the fun things that, it's like I think a lot of our friends, and a lot of the people in the power metal community in general are just so talented. They're just so incredibly good at their instruments and at writing music and all that sort of stuff. So to try to like match that in a sense, and try to match their prowess and their singing is just something I find really like satisfying and fun, and like a fun challenge, something to keep my chops up,
Right. Now, do you have any formal training? How long you've been singing and that sort of thing? Because I couldn't imagine someone trying to do Adrian's vocals, much less a man, a deeper voice. Maybe you're Rob Halfords or Yanni from Beast in Black or something, but have you always done more higher falsetto type stuff, or what's your history there?
It's been ever since Lords that we started doing that, and it was so like I have been like just singing and annoying people since like daycare. Apparently they sent me home the first day because I was singing Deo, like daylight come and me one go, like when I was like 3 or something.
Well, there's your next cover. Add that to your list,
right.
man. A metal version. I don't think I've seen a metal version of that.
I think Dovis would do that too. There
Oh,
are
hell yeah.
A lot of ones of him singing that on like tour buses and stuff.
Nice. But yeah, when I was like 10, I started taking vocal lessons, and I took them until I was like, I don't know, 13 or something. And like most teenagers, I'm like, I like rock music. I don't want to do this classical stuff. Oh, like, and so I started up a band when I was 14, and just kind of sang in the car for many, many years, and never really looked back until around the age of like 30, 32, 30, like somewhere in that 30, 32 range. I actually had a vocal injury, and I had what they would call like a pre-nodule on my vocal cord. And essentially the ENT people, or the throat doctors, were like, yo, shut the fuck up for like 4 months, no singing, no practicing, like no speaking if you can help it. And hopefully this thing just goes away, because it's like a callus, right? And if it doesn't develop into a full nodule, then you don't need surgery. So that was the kind of the thing. I was like, okay, shit. So I did that. And then after that happened, that was kind of like I need to like fix how I'm doing this, because this is not going to be sustainable. So I started taking opera lessons, and I've been taking opera lessons now for like 5, 6 years, something like that. Yeah, it must have been like 32, 33, because yeah, like 5, 6 years, maybe 7. Anyway, I've been taking opera lessons for a while. And it's really changed a lot about how I sing and how I approach singing. And it's been a really wonderful thing. In fact, my opera teacher and I put together a singing course, like a singing and a performance course, with Glenn Fricker of Spectre Digital. And we called it Own the Stage, and we released that, I want to say like maybe like 8 months ago. And it's been doing really well. Everybody's been really liking it. But in terms of like singing the high stuff, that was kind of like an accident of when the band started. The band was a recording project for a long time, and it started in Aki, the guitarist, and I lived together in a dorm room. And the original other guitarists of the band, they were just jamming one night, and they came up with this song idea. And I was like playing Counter-Strike or something, had my headphones on, and they tapped me on the shoulder, and they're like, "Hey Ty, you're a singer. Can you sing over this?" I'm like, maybe, you know. And they're like, "Can you record this on your computer?" I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Like, I didn't know anything. So we were up until 3 a.m, like singing, putting this whole thing together, and just trying shit in the dorm room. And I think like I think it was around like 1 a.m. They put a microphone up, and they're like, "All right, just sing. We need a singer on this." And I'm like, "What do I sing?" And they're like, "I don't know, like fucking like Man-O-War shit, like, you know." And I'm like, okay. And it was 1 a.m, so like I had 1 a.m. brain. So I'm like, of course, Man-O-War shit, yeah, you know. So like they hit record. I'm like, "Through the nights, through the dawn of time, you know." I just start like vamping, and they're like, you know, do some like high scream, like, you know, like, and so I do some like high screams and like, "Oh shit," you know. And I wasn't into metal at that point. I was very much an alternative rock and like funk guy. And that was my first band in college. And it wasn't until the end of college, when like roughly this happened, that it was like junior year of college, that I got into metal. So yeah, so the whole singing high thing was kind of like I had watched like a Man-O-War DVD and laughed at it, and I was like, "Yeah, that," you know, you know, like, I can do that, sure, why not, you know. So and then it sort of just developed over the years. But I guess it's a natural thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Black built a whole career off of that, so it's not a bad route to take.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
so funny. Okay, awkward pause here. I'm gonna take another drink. Man, covered a lot. Surprisingly, we're in it an hour, Jack. Can you believe it? We covered a
Wow.
lot in an hour. That's crazy. Like, it'd normally be like 6 hours now. Like, I gotta edit all this now. Oh.
Yeah. Are we planning on pausing it or calling it on time this time?
I mean, I guess my thing is like all the topics seem thoroughly covered. You know, I don't ever like to put a time limit. Although I was kind of thinking 2 hours for today because we got to prep for later. But
Save my voice, yeah.
save your voice that apparently you don't use enough, according to Lena. So
that was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I can keep saying that, but it's better for maybe someone else to say it. So wasn't bad, but I think me not talking as much is better for the future of what we're doing. Although I could talk forever. Like, I was just thinking of the tie-in with the Succumb video. Like this, you see the guitar right there. That's the guitar from the video that I got from Jack. So I'm like watching the video. In about 5 years, I think I'll be able to play the first 2 or 3 minutes of the song. So
Nice.
I know the feeling of like rewinding something, rewinding. And I'm like, here's one thing that bothers me. I want to bring this up real quick. You got to plug a cord in your guitar when you're filming videos, man. Like, everybody knows you're not playing, but you got to plug a cord in, because I'm like,
we used to think about that. We used to think about that a lot. We did. And then we ended up, you know, at this point we've made so many videos that we're just like,
right.
Everybody knows, they know. Like,
yeah,
you know what I will say, the thing that bothers me more than that, and I've only seen this once, the thing that bothers me way more than that, I saw a dude in a music video. I think it was Silver Talon, if I'm remembering correctly. He had an SM58 and he was singing into it. And it was like you could see the XLR at the end of it. Like, yeah. And I'm like, just don't have a microphone then. Like, just
yeah.
You know.
I feel like a microphone in a music video is so hard to get right too, because you're covering your lyrics, you know.
Yeah. I try to do like some sideways sideways things, you know.
Yeah, do the one like the Lemmy style where it's like up in the air.
Or you do the N.W.O.N.M.B where he just like is the youth pastor. He's like,
Right.
Yeah,
down
yeah.
here.
As soon as he does a high note, it's like the microphone drops 6 feet. And
God, I would, you know, like to be the engineer, you know, doing the compression for N.W.O.N.M.B. It's like that must be like a
Yeah. Or
you know,
the opposite. It's probably like in favor, like if he's singing louder, he's dropping the mic, you have to
right,
do less
right, yeah,
in
yeah.
theory. I mean, live, it's probably all cymbals, but uh,
Oh man. That's great stuff, man. Any other do you have some advice, Ty? Like seems like you've done a ton of videos. Do you have advice for newer bands, up and coming bands, like your experience making videos? I mean, I can't imagine having 11 videos for a 13 song album, but
Yeah,
what are some tips you maybe could share with folks that are still with us after only an hour?
yeah. Well, so you know, I have actually I've got a full if you go to the Lords of the Trident YouTube, youtube.com/Lords of the Trident, there is a playlist called Words of Fang, and it's a whole like DIY a bunch of videos on how to DIY basically everything. And I also have another course with Glenn Fricker of Spectre Digital, or Spectre Academy now, that it's called the DIY Band, where I go into things like DIY touring, making your own road cases from scratch, you know, how to do in-ears, how to plan a tour, how to like keep your finances together, all that sort of stuff. In terms of just videos and internet in general, you know, I believe pretty strongly that like video in general is probably the most effective way to reach new audiences organically. I think that you can do so much more with video, and you have so many more opportunities for for accidental virality with video than you do with any other medium nowadays, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. I think there's definitely an importance of doing videos and more video in general from most bands. Most bands I think are not putting enough time and effort into that. Now that's just my opinion. But I also think that, you know, when bands create videos, a lot of them feel like they need, especially new bands, right? If we're talking about brand new bands, a lot of them feel like they need to have, you know, gigantic production budgets right off the bat, when in actuality, you can actually make a lot of videos look really, really fabulous with almost no budget whatsoever, like a shoestring budget. A lot of, you know, if I had to condense this down into like one soundbite for new bands, if you're thinking about making videos, 99% of the thought process of making your first maybe music video or cover video or whatever should be put into lighting. Lighting is like the majority of what makes a video look cool. It's not necessarily the lens, it's not necessarily the camera, it's not the frame rate. Well, shoot it in 24 or else you will immediately be axed by me. But it's the more than nothing, or more than anything, it is the lighting. The lighting makes the majority of the video look professional. So I, you know, and I did the first bunch of videos that I made, I just bought like the tin can like lights that you screw a light bulb into,
Yeah,
you know,
par
that you, like,
cans.
yeah. I just bought a bunch of those from like Home Depot for $8, and I put them around different areas of the, you know, of the room, and it worked great and looked cool. Green screen is something that is incredibly easy to do. A lot of people don't think it's like some sort of black magic. When we made our first music video, it was all green screen, and I bought like a couple yards of green fabric from like Jo-Ann Fabrics and hung them up in our guest room, and that's how we shot the first music video. And like even today I'm looking at that like I could have done this better now, but like damn, for that time it actually looks pretty good, you know, like this is crazy. So I would say, you know, to most bands out there, the most important thing is just try. You know, try it, and see how it turns out. If it doesn't cost you anything to do, if you can do it for free, if you can try something and do it for free, and all it costs you is your time, if it doesn't turn out to your specifications, if it doesn't turn out good, you don't have to put it out.
Right.
You can just say like, hey, that was a good learning experience. I learned how to do green screen and I learned how to do lighting, and I'm going to do it better next time. But I think if you look back, you know, it's easy for someone to look at what we're putting out now and be like, oh my God, it's someone call up this famous director because he must have directed this amazing masterpiece of a music video, you know. But and you know, thank you very much, random internet person. But you know, that it didn't start out that way, right? It started out with me like borrowing a camera from work without telling them, and renting out a few other cameras from my local library and getting tin can lights and just watching a bunch of how-to, you know, videos on YouTube of how to make and edit shit together and do green screen. And you know, if you look back and you watch some of our earlier videos, the quality is lesser than it is today. And that didn't come from me waiting. That didn't come from me saying, I'm going to save up a bunch of money and hire somebody. That came from slow and steady progress over the years, learning, you know, okay, this works. I'm going to do this next time. I'm going to do this better. I'm going to buy this gear next. I'm going to do this next. I'm going to, you know, do all that sort of stuff. So I think it's way more important that bands just try something, rather than like thinking that they can't do it. 99% of everything in the music industry is doable by whoever is listening to this podcast right now. 99% of anything in the music industry is doable by you if you have like a marginal IQ. You know, I'm sure you guys have run into so many booking agents and so many, you know, so-called managers and so many people who like, boy, they couldn't rub two brain cells together if you really tried. I mean, like, you know, and they're in like giant positions of power, and you're like, how did you get there? What's wrong with you? You know, why is my spreadsheet so much better than yours? Why don't you have a spreadsheet? You know, there's been a million dealing with Mad with Power. I have dealt with so many booking agents that don't have calendars and don't answer their emails. I've dealt with 3 booking agents that do not have a calendar, and I'm like, how are you a booking agent? And they're booking like big bands. Like, how are you a booking agent? What's like wrong with you?
The only thing that they're in charge of is the calendar.
Yeah.
literally their job is answer email, have a calendar, and they're unable to do either of those, and they're working like in LA, you know.
LA.
Yeah, I mean,
how are they tracking stuff? Are they just like the Mentalist, and they're like sending, you know, chakras to the bands?
Apparently they're not, because one of the bands that we had supposedly booked on Mad with Power this year apparently didn't know they were booked until 3 months before the fest, and then had to drop because their booking agent doesn't have a fucking calendar. Wow. So yeah. Anyway,
that's like thing number 3 is make sure the band knows about it.
Yep. Like that's my general rant at the end of the advice. It's like literally, you know, we live in the age right now where you have almost the entire, you know, world's knowledge in your pants, and just pull out your phone. You know, yes, I know how that sounds. Just, you know, pull out your phone.
Pull out your phone, kid.
Type into YouTube, you know, how to do whatever you want to do, and there's probably 6 or 7 or 20, you know, tutorials on how to do that. Heck, I've probably made some of those tutorials, you know. So like literally, nothing at this point is impossible. It's just the courage to try.
Right. And the thing to remember is everything is also on your phone to do it. You can do YouTube. The cameras now on phones are better than what they were making movies with 20 years ago. Better resolution. You can upload everything. You can edit. There's a software in 99% of the phones out there to edit basic videos, or if you have iMovie or something. I mean, that's what I use to cut all this stuff together. But it's just having, like, we talked about doing this podcast for years. I was one of those COVID people that didn't do jack shit. Like you're supposed to go and make music and write songs and become.
You didn't have a sourdough starter? What was wrong with you? Come on.
No, I did get a bread maker though, and we talked about this.
Oh,
Like
well, there you go. You
first
did it. It's
episode,
fine.
and I took 5 years off my life eating homemade bread for a year and a half. But I didn't post that stuff. I should have been like posting all this amazing bread that I was making. But it's like just doing it, because you like me, I overthink everything. I'm thinking I have like 4 calendars. I don't book anybody, but I have 4 calendars. So if the guy in LA wants to borrow a calendar, I'll go ahead and front that for him. But you're right. It's like just do it. And number one, if it's terrible, no one else is going to see it. The only people that are there while it's happening are going to know about it. But like a friend of mine's a movie maker. Like he makes everything is like, there's like B grade movies. His are like C grade movies that all have like dystopian, like Cthulhu related Lovecraftian kind of stuff.
Nice.
And he was making green screen movies 10 or more years ago, and we did like a soundtrack for one of them and things. He's actually a really good friend of mine. He's going to be hopefully in our October episode for like Halloween and that kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, like he was one that inspired me to do this. I'm like, man, he was making these B grade movies, C grade movies, with the PC software where all the green screen stuff is like really blocky and like 8-bit almost. But the movie, like I went back and watched the movie because my wife and I, it was a rock opera of doom is what his movie was called. And he sent us raw tracks of like synths and like vocals, and was like, I just need songs written. So we ended up writing about 6 or 7 songs, all based on the movie. We filmed like videos, we did green screen stuff like 10 plus years ago. And I was like, I should have been motivated back then to do it, but it's stuff happens when it's supposed to happen, I suppose. And I'm thankful to have this opportunity because, to be honest with you, a lot of people have reached out to us and are on board to help us do this kind of format, which is cool because I'm like, at some point, like people have come on, and Jack, this is true for you, you get tired of like the same questions, you get tired of the same interviews and all that. But we try to do it a little different, normally focusing on fans and friends input, but you had so much going on. I did want to bring up real quick, one of the things I remember you messaged was you have a live streaming event that ties into video and doing things. Can you it's the 22nd of this month of July.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do my best to have this out on the 21st.
Cool.
I don't think I have to edit really anything. I can just put it out as this is an hour episode, so suck it up, watch it.
Yeah.
But what's your event coming up? You want to plug that real quick, and then I think we'd probably be able to wrap it up here.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool
so
with everybody.
We've one of the cooler things that we did in kind of just after post-COVID times was we did a live stream with Aether Realm and Seven Kingdoms. And we had been, one of the things that we'd been working up to during COVID was essentially turning the basement into kind of a TV studio and dialing in a really, really good live sound for live streaming. So during COVID, we did a bunch of concerts. We do Brian would do some solo shred stuff that would be really popular. I would do a drunken quarantine karaoke where I'd take a drink for every donation and be just absolutely shit faced at the end of 5 hours, and we donated it all to charity. But one of the things that we really loved is doing these multi-camera live stream concerts. And after at kind of like the tail end of COVID, end of like 2021-ish, when things were slowly inching back to normal, Unleash the Archers was starting up a US tour, and they ended up getting denied entry to the United States. They got all the way to Chicago, and they got to the they got to the what's it called, the customs or whatever,
Mhm.
and they were like, oh, sorry, your manager fucked up and you actually needed to quarantine for 1 more week, so denied, and they sent them back to Canada. And the problem with that was Aether Realm and Seven Kingdoms, who was on tour with them for like 4 weeks, was at my house, and they were planning on like leaving my house that day. But then they were like, whoa, okay, like, what are we gonna do? And they didn't have any place to stay or food to eat or like whatever. So I'm like, yo, just you can hang with me. And we were trying to figure out what we would do to like help them make up some money. So we ended up doing this live stream thing, and we did a live stream of all three bands as kind of like a fundraiser, to help them weather this first week of no profits, essentially. And it went gangbusters. It was great. There was like 500, 600 people watching. We raised like $6,000 for the bands.
Wow.
And we gave it all to them. It's like each band got 3,000, which covered what they needed to cover, which was awesome. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to, after that, we would do more live streams where it was just us. But we always kind of had in the back of our mind, like, man, it would be fun to do another, set of live streams where we bring in other bands, and like bands we're friends with and bands we think people should know about. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing this weekend. This Saturday, we've got a live stream coming up where it's us and the band Peacemaker out of Madison, Wisconsin. We had another band called Help Desk that was slated to play, one of my favorite local punk bands. They all dress up like IT guys, and all of their songs are about working at a help desk. It's amazing. Unfortunately, their bassist actually got into a really severe car wreck 2 nights ago, and he's currently in the ICU.
Oh man.
And he's doing as good as we can expect. He's got a few more surgeries, but he sounds like
Wow.
he is mildly out of the woods at this point. But we're still keeping our fingers crossed. So it's just going to be us two. We're going to play an extended set. And yeah, we're going to keep doing this. Our goal, essentially, alongside of touring, is to do at least 2 to 3 live stream concerts per year, because there's a lot of people, like, we've got fans in, over in, like you do, Jack, like over in Europe and Japan, who can't come out to see us in Madison, Wisconsin, but maybe they'd be able to catch a live stream. So doing those live streams during COVID was a boon for a lot of the fans over in Europe and Japan and other places that may be logistically challenging to see us. So we want to keep that going. So yeah, we got that coming up. We're gonna be playing some songs off of the new EP. We actually have for Mad with Power, we have got a brand new song that we're going to be debuting at Mad with Power that I think people will really like. So that's very cool. But yeah, we're going to be playing a bunch of current stuff, bunch of new stuff, and just have a fun time.
Right on. Now this is going to be on your Twitch channel.
Yes.
Do you want to publish
Thank
that?
Yeah, it's going to be simulcast on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So you can go to twitch.tv/LordsOfTheTrident or youtube.com/LordsOfTheTrident. If you're listening to this and you're in the Madison area for some reason, you can, I'm sure people from Madison will listen to this. You can go. There's a local venue called the Annex, and they're going to be simulcasting it live at the bar on a giant projector on their huge PA. So if you want to go out to a place and drink and be with friends and watch it together in that kind of an environment, go to the Annex. But yeah, otherwise Twitch or YouTube. And if you're not yet subscribed or following us on Twitch or YouTube, please do so, because it helps out a lot. Yeah, and you can check us out there.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much. Again, my list of things here as soon as I get off is to follow your Twitch channel. That's something Jack and I talked about, eventually turning this into a live thing. I did not know you could do YouTube and Twitch simultaneously, so that's very cool.
So you can,
but
like many things, I've got a full video on how to do this.
Right on.
If you, and this is another good little aspect for bands who are thinking about live streaming, if you use there's services out there that called, like, one of the most popular ones is called Restream. And that allows you to stream to, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, all at the same time. However, all of these companies YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, they all want you to just stream on Twitch or just on YouTube
Right.
or just on Facebook. They don't want it spread across multiple platforms because they want that money. So if you use Restream, they will know, and then they will organically bring you down in the search results. There will be way less of a chance for people to like happen upon you on the front page or see
Right.
you on their Facebook feed or whatever.
Right.
But you can buy a $35 little tiny computer called a Raspberry Pi, and you can, nail that to your wall in your basement like I have. And if you configure it in the way that I've had it set up in my videos, it will act as a restreaming box for you and automatically stream to as many sources as you want. And there's no way anyone can tell, because like YouTube would actually have to go and look, and nobody's going to go and look,
Right.
So yes,
Wow.
got some nerdery, some geekery to
Brilliant.
circumvent that.
Yeah, if I go and look at the few things you mentioned here, I'll never get this video edited and uploaded. So it'll be 2024 and I'll be like, oh, it's a little dated, but maybe there's another live stream a year later that you guys can check out after this has been filmed.
Well, and if you don't get it out in time too, people can always watch the live stream after the fact. We'll have the replay
right.
on Twitch, and we'll have the replay on YouTube. So
awesome. Well, Ty, it has been a pleasure and enlightenment talking to you. You're a compoundium of knowledge for metal geeks, video game nerds, like the whole gambit you're kind of running out there. I can't stress enough how awesome it is that you're willing to share all this. And like, I'm assuming YouTube, everything you have is free. So you don't make a penny from this, and you do a lot for other bands and helping them out, and being a resource. This is one of the things where more people like you do festivals and help mid-tier bands and bring in bands from across the world and across the country. I think it's very important to the scene in the States to have festivals that are cool. And yeah, it's a money thing. It's got to put you, in the black at some point. You've got to make the money. But your attitude and the way you're going about it, it's like we need about a dozen of you across the country.
Thank you.
And have the knowledge and the willingness and like no arrogance. Like I don't get any vibe from you like, I'm better because I'm doing this or that. It's just like, well, this is what I'm doing and it's cool and you can check it out.
Yeah, no, I'm real dumb. I'm like, listen, if I can do this shit, everybody can do this shit. Like I am.
You don't have to be smart to be good at something.
No.
I mean, that's the tagline right there.
I am all about the whole like rising tide raises all ships. There shouldn't be any competition in music because you don't have to exclusively just be a fan of one band, right? I can be a fan of Lords of the Trident and Seven Spires at the same time, and there's no conflict of that.
Nobody
I am all
can
about
stop me.
I'm all about the new wave of nice metal buds.
Right.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't even talk about this. This is the best thing ever.
Well, let's bring that up real quick because I'm glad he did. I wanted to use that, and I reached out to someone on Discord. It's like, hey, I want to use this. And they're like, well, talk to Ty because it's really his concept. And just to be cool, it was Matt. He's like, just run it by him and say, hey, you want to use this and what you're doing. And let's talk about the N.W.O.N.M.B. Nice.
N.W.O.N.M.B.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's hard.
It's one of the few things where the acronym is more confusing than just saying the whole thing.
Right. Nice buds. Ty, I'll let you give us the 5-minute nickel tour of that, and then I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the day.
Sounds great.
Again, anyone real quick that's still watching and listening, Ty's band is Lord of the Trident. Check them out on all your socials, all your streaming services as
just
well.
Lords of the Trident, LordsOfTheTrident.com, or if you type Lords of the Trident into Google, we're like the first 50 pages. So
awesome. And then also Mad with Power Fest 6 is happening August. What are the 2 days? 18, 19?
August 18th and 19th. And if you can't make it this year and you want to plan ahead, we're moving it up slightly for next year. It's August 2nd and 3rd, the first weekend of August for next year. The reason is Metallica was playing the same weekend. So we're like, yeah, nah, we're not gonna do that.
Right. Or find the venue and be like, hey, you want to have like a side stage that has cool video game nerd stuff. I'm sure Kurt Hammett would be like the first guy to be like, yeah, let's add that.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, so New Wave of Nice Metal Buds was a, I think a lot of people are familiar with the acronym of New Wave of British Heavy Metal, N.W.O.N.M. Yeah, nobody can pronounce these damn acronyms.
Heavy metal. New Wave of British Heavy Metal.
BHM, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.
Right.
And you see a lot of dudes at with their battle vests and their patch vests that just have like a New Wave of British Heavy Metal patch. And for people who are unfamiliar, that's just kind of like shorthand for like, I like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and Dio and stuff. Like
only.
Yeah. And so we were on this little mini tour with our good friends Mega Colossus out of North Carolina. And we've always joked that like, I came into metal, like I was saying, when I was in the dorm room, I was not into metal at all. I was in an alternative rock band. All I knew about metal was like, Manowar and like angry dudes with long hair and pointy guitars, angry at their dad, going like, blah, 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 like I didn't know anything about metal. And that perspective from me, like that was a very important perspective in starting this whole concept, because I think a lot of people outside of the community who weren't raised in, liking or enjoying metal or being part of the community think of metal as kind of a scary, kind of angry in some senses group of people, when in actuality, and this is the thing that the Mega Colossus boys and I were talking about, like we're just nerds. We're just a bunch of like Dungeons and Dragons loving, if you go at a metal concert, if you're like, I need an IT guy, literally every person's hand will raise. It's like we're literally just nerds, and most of us are just very calm, gentle, kind. We want to go to bed at a reasonable hour. We like a few drinks. That's about it. Like we're not hard partiers or anything like that. And so we were joking, and I was saying like, we should be like the new wave of like nice metal buds, and that was just an inside joke that kind of stuck with us and Mega Colossus for a while. And a few years later, the places where I got patches made for the band and for the festival, they were having like a flash sale of like 100 patches, small patches, like tiny baby patches, 100 patches for $100. And I was like, okay, so I as a joke, I made a bunch of these patches, and I sent them out to all of the bands that had already played Mad with Powerfest. And I'm like, all right, now you got to be nice. Now now when you walk into a room, people know that guy needs a hug. Like that's what watch out, he's gonna ask you about your interests, and he's gonna be really involved. Like, well, and I think it kind of struck a chord with a lot of people. A lot of people just, I think, sometimes there's things that everybody feels, but then somebody says, and then you're like, yeah, and then everybody just gets behind it. And
Right.
And that's kind of what happened with New Wave of Nice Metal Buds. It was just this whole, like, I just sent this out as a fun joke, like, yeah, okay, everybody be nice. We're all gonna be nice to each other. Because all the bands that I had on Mad with Powerfest were just nice, just cool dudes. And it sort of became this whole intrinsic idea on its own. And especially during COVID, when there was a lot of lack of well-being, let's just say, right? Everybody was having a tough time mentally, physically,
Sure. Right.
emotionally. I think it was something that a lot of people latched onto and really got behind, of like, we're going to get together in this community. We're going to be welcoming. We're going to be nice. We're going to make sure that everybody feels safe and happy. And we're going to try to help each other. We're going to try to make sure that we're there for each other. We're going to make this community the nicest community it can possibly be. And then Grant from Unleash the Archers, made partner on Twitch, and when you make partner, you can create like a streaming group of
Right.
people, and so he hit me up and he's like, "Hey Ty," because I sent him a patch. And he's like, "Hey Ty, could I call this group the New Wave of Nice Metal Buds?" I was like, "Dude, fuck, absolutely, yeah, go for it." Like, to me, like New Wave of Nice Metal Buds, like, yeah, I came up with it, but it's not like my idea. It's like it's an ethos, it's an idea, it's a
Right. You're just the guy that said the thing that everybody was thinking. So,
yeah.
but it still has merit to be that sayer guy, not the I get it guy.
Yeah, I suppose, so shortly thereafter I put together like so I'm a longtime practitioner and teacher of Taekwondo. I've been practicing and teaching Taekwondo for about 20 years.
Wow.
And in our club we have like aims to achieve, and we have a very it's a very like kind of way of living kind of reminder. It's like nobody's ever gonna like get 100% of these all the time, but it's just a good reminder that these are the aims that we're striving for. We may not always hit them, but this is kind of our blueprint, right? And so I modeled like a New Wave of Nice Metal Buds aims to achieve off of our Taekwondo aims to achieve, and just kind of put that up as just something. And the New Waves of Nice Metal Buds aims to achieve, without going into the deep lore in
Well,
each of
we'll
them.
put a link. Also, I'll get like a good
Yeah.
link that has all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, you can sum it up pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean, in a nutshell, it's be nice, but be nice, promote integrity, help and be helped, stay mindful of the community, forgive and love. Those are the 6 aims to achieve. And there's more details on each one of them in the little write-up that I did, but but I think having an ethos behind a community and having something to strive for that is positive is a good way to not only bring the community together, to bring other like-minded bands together, but I think it's also a great opportunity to welcome new people who are, let's say, metal curious, into the community in a nice, safe way, and and get that going. So yeah. So that's the New Wave of Nice Metal Buds. Anybody can use it. Anybody can have it. We've got patches on the website if you want to grab one. They're like $5. So
Right on. To kind of sum up from an outsider seeing that, it adds a level of refreshment to everything, because how many people won't go to like a festival just because of the anxiety of like, I don't want someone messing with me. I just want to go and kind of check stuff out. But the metal community, and I'd have to say like power metal, symphonic metal, the connection of like fellowship, like everybody wants to help everybody. Everybody accepts everybody. It's just the next wave, the younger generation of bands and just human beings that are kind of tired of the way stuff has been for like the past 20 years, like their parents or maybe their grandparents had to experience things. And it's just awesome. And it's going to keep growing the community and the industry. And it's really, really cool to have people like you, like at the forefront of like everything you're doing. Like, I can't say a bad thing about everything you've said or like judgment thing, and I'm very critical, as Jack can tell you. That's kind of my deal, is like
I'm hoping to be the Tom Hanks of power metal.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
that's
a great
great.
guy. I don't know, he's good, he's cool.
Just be careful with the offspring, because they can be
Oh yeah,
side A, side B kind of deal.
I don't have any kids. I just have my cat, that's all.
Right. Oh, I'm the same way. I'm like, you know what? Kids aren't my jam, but animals, cats, dog, like all of your domestics. I mean, help the ones that aren't ever going to be able to help themselves. And that same mentality, it runs through the community and a lot of your ideas. So Ty, thanks again so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Jack, for reaching out to Ty. We're talking about things and people to have. And I was telling Jack, just messaging him, and he's like, you know, Ty and I can probably BS for a couple hours. So if we need the show to be something more, but you know, I think this was 100% a filler free zone. Like everything was like very much like pay attention to what's happening here is really cool. And to be honest, all of our sessions so far have kind of been that, like, you know, that's why I don't really put a time on things. It's like, well, let's cover what organically kind of flows together. And we've been lucky to have super guests like you just run with it and flow. And it's been really refreshing and awesome. So thanks again. So much. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody will have links for all of Ty's goodies, Fang's goodies down in the bottom. Hopefully I can get everything. This has been an awesome session. Thanks. I can't say thanks enough. I know it's a broken record, but in this case, it's very good. It's the bird's not the word. Thanks is the word for today. So thank you, Ty, for being here again. Thanks to Jack, the voice of consciousness and reason that is the glue that binds this insanity together, our experimentals, as I call it. But yeah, check out Lords of the Trident, check out Mad with Power, check out
Come to Mad with Power.
Oh, come to Mad with Power, because the ticket sales are very low. They've sold out of VIPs. They've outsold Prague Power, so congratulations there. And if you can't make it this year, plan for next year. If I can somehow figure out a way to Wisconsin that doesn't involve an airplane, I certainly am very interested in checking out a fest in the future. Also check out Jack's band, Seven Spires, and all of the goodies on socials and
check us out at Mad with Power.
Yeah, they're headlining.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Awesome.
The first night, Seven Spires is headlining. I mean, that's enough reason for everyone to go buy a ticket right now.
Exactly.
So independent promoters with calendars are really the jam right now.
Yes. Yes. And then answer their email. Yeah.
Yeah. And also
spreadsheets.
Tell your band's booking agents and managers when they're supposed to play places, and find out like specifics. Like we say here quite often, it's like cross the T's and dot the I's. These bands are doing this and trying to do this for a living. So your mistake of, oh, you didn't quarantine long enough, that ruins people's lives for a brief amount of time. And post-COVID, this community needs everybody on both ends of the spectrum working together. So we need to get some more of these decision makers on the top of the food chain, so to speak, into the new wave of nice metal buds and metal managers and metal booking agents. So let's grow this community and get the word out. But that's my spiel. If anybody, Jack, do you have any final words for our fine listeners?
You covered it, man. It's very self-explanatory.
Right on. Well, thanks again, everyone. This has been Sounds and Grounds. I'm Zeus, the purveyor of Blackheart guitars and coffee. And our guests today have been, well, Jack Costo's not just a guest, he's the co-host of the show, and Ty Christian of Lords of the Trident. So thanks again for checking us out. I hope it was helpful for you. Be nice, be a new wave of metal, heavy metal bud, and get the word out. And we'll see you next time.